Reverend Steve, keeping it simple, we're still in Matthew 25, and we're going to be in verse 5 today. And what I've been laying out in this teaching is that we have 10 Christians, 10 bridesmaids ready for Jesus' return. Right? We all understand that Jesus is going to return, but some think differently. And this is what Jesus is telling us, that some at the last days, they're going to think differently. They're going to think that some are not going to be here. And it's clearly, this doctrine is talked about in this, and Jesus is warning, without saying it, he's telling us that there's going to be two camps in the last days. There's going to be a camp that believes that we're not going to be here, which is very prevalent in the United States, and not too many places, really. If you came out of the United States, that teaching is not as popular because persecution is already happening in those places. Here, we've been blessed for not being persecuted all this time in this country. We've had freedom of religion and freedom to proclaim the gospel. But those days are changing. As we see the times, they are changing. Okay, and that persecution that's happening throughout the world is going to happen to us. When the Antichrist comes on the scene and he starts to persecute the saints, that's when the rubber hits the road. And that's what Jesus is talking about here. He's talking about two mindsets, ones who are prepared and ones who are not prepared for the time to come. And many have hijacked this teaching to portray that this is talking about a pre-trib rapture and we're not going to be here. But these words and these pieces of scripture prove it's not that. Because the way Jesus phrases this tells us that it's not. That it is those who are prepared to go to the end that are saved and allowed to be with the Master. This is quite telling and beautiful piece of scripture, and really must be studied properly. And if you're going to study this, put all the other things that you been taught, because I was taught that too, that this is talking about the pre-trib rapture. Put that away and read what it says, and take away all the false teachings that you've been indoctrinated with. So let's read this. When the bridegroom was delayed, so he's delayed. Now, this is today. We're waiting for him to come. They're delayed. They all became drowsy and fell asleep. We're all asleep. We're all been asleep. I think we've been jarred, though, because that's what happens next in this story. At midnight, they were aroused by the shout, "Look, the bridegroom is coming." It doesn't say he came. It says he's coming. So look what happens. Come out and meet him. So there's going to be a time that everybody knows that Jesus is right at the door. We're starting to see that now, right? So I'm going to wait for the rest of this because I want to get deeper into this teaching for the next teaching because it's quite amazing. God bless.